So Kurt, this was a show that you had recommended me. Why is that? What caught your eye with
What
this
caught
one?
my eye? This show really makes Shibuya feel like lived in. Like,
Yes.
you know, it's like the setting of anime a lot of times, even if it's in like a well-known area, it doesn't necessarily feel lived in. The Call of the Night.
Oh,
And that the night times, it feels even more so like than Call of the Night. It feels so lived in. It feels like people are actually living in these areas.
Yeah.
Like and it's like, if you talk about the soundtrack isn't something that I'm going to be playing on my car speakers, but it envelops you into this like nighttime atmosphere. Like it feels like a lived-in place.
Yeah,
and I
especially
love that about it.
Even the mural that the main character,
especially the mural.
the mural that the main character Mahiru draws, like you see it when she first finishes it, and what it is now, it's covered in graffiti.
Exactly.
People are just using it as a backdrop for their videos.
They're shitty, yeah.
It looks like anytime you go down to LA, you see a beautiful mural, and you know, like, oh, in like 6 months.
How many Instagram pictures are taken?
In 6 months, it's gonna be tagged up and used in Instagram photos. Yeah.
Yeah, it's and fittingly, Mahiru's nickname is Yoru, and it's much of this takes place in the night. You know. It's very much like a show that we both liked. Actually, you put me on. Soro Yorimoi.
So in a place further than the universe.
Yeah.
That show, they band together going to Antarctica to find the main character's mother. And not all of their dreams aren't to go to Antarctica.
Yeah.
Each one has their own dream, but they're achieving it together through this one person's dream. And just like this, we see Kano, her dream is to become a virtual idol or a new singer. And they all have their own dreams. One wants to be a artist, the other one wants to be a composer, the other one wants to be a hero, you know, to be known online, and is a talented e-celeb. They know how the internet works. And so they all band together for this one project. And it's really nice. It's I'm so glad you made that
reference. Yeah, it's kind of spot on. And like talking about that, about how the opening is great, how it shows like the kind of ghosts or phantoms of their past, and how they want to kind of recapture some of that. Like this show, the thing I think that really stood out to me is the directing. Like I think that a lot of the choices that are made to tell the story, it really draws it out, because there's so many, even just this season, there's so many series that are telling similar stories, but how the directorial choices in this really help make the difference, I think.
And this show has some of the best camera work I've seen. Like, it's not like static shots. It's very dynamic, and it was one of the first things that caught my eye. I'm like, wow, this show looks great. You know?
It's actually funny because I think this is his first time directing.
Oh, really?
And if you look at he was the animation director for like an opening, and you can see the exact camera moves in the opening that he uses in the show.
Yeah, well, if you're an OP director, you typically have really good sense of like movement and stuff. I can definitely understand that. And one of the things that you pointed out to me that I really didn't think about is like this show really embraces the idea of, hey, hair change means character change.
Yup.
You said every single character has a different hairstyle and from their childhood to growing up, and I did not realize that, but you're absolutely right. Mahiru has the twin tails. Kano had black hair. Kimura
changed. They essentially Kimura and Kano, they swapped essentially.
And then Kiwi had was it black hair or bluish black? It was and then turns to pink. It's so much so that it shocks.
It shocks Mahiru. And I think that another thing, talking about that, I think the character design is should be really praised in this. So we talked about the hair, but if you look at Mahiru's like outfit when she's like walking around Shibuya at night, she's like a jellyfish dressing in. Her dress is this kind of like open kind of. She's supposed to represent the jellyfish aimlessly wandering, like floating through the night until Kano gets her and drags her along.
And then even Kano, all of her clothes is very bright and very like stands out. I really do love all the character designs in this. one of the things I love just like personality wise is Kim.
Yeah.
Like when she's introduced, you see a black hair girl or like a purple hair girl.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You think, oh, she's the traditional pianist. She's
Yeah.
like like a very high raised and high class. And then she meets the main characters and it's like, oh, she's a crazy stalker.
Yeah. It's again, I think it's and also like you could have taken that character and taken a very like judgmental lens. And I think the direction and the writing of this where you aren't supposed to laugh at that like too much, right? It's not like, or I guess a better way is you're not supposed to like look down on her.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
It's the director's very. I feel like a lot of times directors will just like not be empathetic to their characters or not like their characters, and I'm like, how can I as an audience member like the characters if you don't like the characters?
Yeah.
Right. And the hand that's guiding this show makes you very empathetic with every single person involved, right? And because the hand that's guiding it has this empathy towards the characters, us as an audience also has that empathy, which is why I think the show works like that. Or even something like Yorimoi, that's why it works, right? Because we can take this empathetic approach to these characters.
Absolutely, yeah. And like so far, I really adore the relationship between Mahiru and Kano. The shows are nothing alike, but it really reminds me a lot of the relationship between Takina and Chisato. This idea of like, one character is kind of inner shell, recluse, and the other one's very genki, energetic, very sure of herself. And they support each other, even though one can be very, the archetypes, one can be very dependent on the other, but it's not. It's a healthy relationship. You know, there better be an episode where they go to our aquarium. You know, that's a staple of it.
I mean, it's about jellyfish. I feel like it's
shit,
gonna happen. I love it.
Yeah,
I'm shocked.
I knew nothing about the show. You recommended it to me, and then already by that first just like Train, within the first few seconds, it got my attention.
Yeah.
And 100%. I was like, oh, I'm gonna love it. And as soon as I saw the Yorimoi connection, then I was like, oh, okay,
100%.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, this season is hilarious, like crazily strong.
Yeah,
which is wild because I could have picked like 10 shows.
No, same. Yeah, I had so many shows. A lot of the shows that I would have picked were sequels, though. But there are a lot of good shows this season. And funny enough, like a lot of them are like music based. Too. Yeah.
So I really enjoyed the show, and I'm hoping that it does well.
Yeah. And I hope they have some banger songs like the NED of the third episode.
Nothing can top Girls Band Cries. Insert songs. There's nothing that can top Girls Band Cries. Insert songs. I'm sorry.
But you know, it's also nice to have good looking animation on top of that.
Just like Girls Band Cries.
Yeah, sure.
ありがとうございました。